hour.
We all go a little mad.
Get you.
The dead follow a legendary
You are on the dark night.
All right, hello, and welcome to the Horror Hour. Typically the place we discuss, we debate, we disagree on all things horror. I'm one of the co-hosts here, Yutaka. Hello. And today I'm joined with co-hosting duties, the horror bandwagon, Sergio and Cody.
Hello.
Hello. So happy to be here.
So happy you could join. And I oh my gosh, this is honestly a dream come true because so much of his work just, oh my goodness. I am super excited to introduce Darren Stein. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Peachy fucking keen. Yeah.
We are so we weren't originally supposed to be on this episode with you, but once we found out, I was like, I need to go. I need to meet the man that made me gay. So I just this is a must. So it's your fault. It's your fault. My parents will send you the bill.
I take full responsibility. I'm very proud to have all my children out there.
Yes.
Children, there's children of the cornet. Now I guess there's children of the Jawbreaker.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, like, gosh, it came out. I'm trying to think. I think I was a sophomore, junior in high school. And I mean, like, I think for when it came out, it was such, for me, a revolutionary one in terms of it was so, for me, I was like, this is so gay. And I love this. And it's got, I mean, there's Scream Queens now. Rebecca Gayheart, Rose McGowan, Judy Greer, all, on their own. But I would like to know when it came about to, setting up to direct this feature. Did you know that it was going to have the response from, like, even to this day, people still love and cherish this film?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, one can hope and pray, it's all you can do is make a film and hope people like it. I've been wanting to make films since I was a kid. I've been making little films in my cul-de-sac since I was literally like 7 or 8 years old. You can rent a documentary on Amazon called Put the Camera on Me. It's 70 minutes of me and my little friends. It's sort of like Stand By Me or, Goonies or something. It's like
this. I need to watch this.
Yeah, it's an 80s, it's 80s Encino in the hills, and we're all making these films, and I'm kind of bossing everyone around.
Yeah.
And like working out like my queer identity through all these hapless straight kids in my neighborhood, except for one who's like this black gay dude who I put in a leotard, and I put him in a film called Gay as a Whistle because he has a magic coin that turns the straight boys gay.
Yeah.
Well, straight people generally gay, I guess. But I guess it was just my way of, when we're young and we're in this world as children, we're like, well, what? Wait, okay, so those are off limits and these aren't. Like these are there's things you have to learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ways. And I was just doing mine on film, and I put it all into a documentary, and it was featured on This American Life. I don't know if you ever hear that the Ira Glass podcast, on NPR.
Oh, I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. There's a 12-minute piece on thislife.org. It's called it's a show on home movies, and my section's called The Kids Stay in the Picture. But yeah, so I've been making kids films since I loved horror. I was reading Fangoria since I first laid eyes on it, on a newsstand. And I think it kind of Fangoria calls to queer kids because it's so bright. It's like bright.
I mean, like, Fangoria
gravitates toward.
Yeah,
it's definitely, since the rebrand, I feel like it's been catering more and more just to because I personally think horror is queer, honestly. I think it's a safe space. It's the weird, the strange, willing to break boundaries. And I think that Fangoria is really embracing that. And so I love it.
I think it's great. Yeah.
Well, it's so interesting because Jawbreaker, for me, I always thought it was a horror film. I thought it was just considered a horror film. It was in that genre. But then later on, as I grew up, I was like, oh, I guess it is like a dark comedy. And, I just fit it in with everything '90s horror for me. That was in my rotation. So I mean that's what
Same.
like I was interested to find out is like, is that something that you were like, oh, it's not horror, but I mean, I guess it is.
Yeah, I set out to write a horror film when I wrote
Okay.
Jawbreaker. Yeah, when I sat down, I was like, okay, well, they're these girls that kidnapped each other for their birthdays. And I went to an all boys school, and so I didn't really get all the like the delicious like girl tropes of high school aside from the movies like Carrie, Rock and Roll High School, the John Hughes films, etc. And I was like, well, what if one of these girls? I just thought it was such a weird thing that they did. Like, they kidnap each other for their birthdays. The mom is in on it. They tie her to the flagpole. They bring her to Denny's. They stuff her face with pancakes, tie her to the flagpole. And I was like,
damn.
and then I was like, what if they kill her? And so that's where the horror came from, right? Is the idea of like, oh, fuck, we killed her. And then is there a body count from there? What happens? I didn't know. I just knew I had this beginning of a movie. And then I was like, how do they kill her? And what if they're like really super girls, like the girls in Heathers, right?
Yeah.
Like what happens if like really hardcore girls kidnap their friend? How does that go wrong? And what would these hardcore girls do to keep her quiet? Like, what is the ritual? And then I was thinking, I think of Jackie Brown or Reservoir Dogs or something, and the ball gag. And I thought, not Jackie Brown, sorry, Pulp Fiction, maybe.
Oh yes, because it's the basement scene. Yep, I know what you're talking about.
So I thought, well, what is a girl equivalent of a ball gag? Like, what would they use? They're not going to have a fucking S&M fetish gear store near their house. So I was like, oh, Jawbreaker, because that's so funny, because it's colorful and bright and it's feminine and like, wow, you'd never expect that to go wrong. Oh, and it can melt in your mouth because it's made out of sugar. So it's sort of feasible that it could have melted and gotten stuck there.
Yeah. I need to know though, did she actually like put the Jawbreaker in? Because that scene always makes me cringe. Like just when they put it into her mouth, and I'm like, oh, I can't. I have a big mouth, but I can't.
Listen, the movie's called Jawbreaker. What do you want? It tells you what it is. It tells you
Meanwhile,
what it is.
I'm like, that's kind of hot work.
So many people, it's funny because so many people sometimes on Twitter or I'll see, oh, that I watched that movie when I was too young and it f***ed me up. And to me, that's like the ultimate badge of honor because we all have that movie that we saw too young.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, she puts it in, she slams it into the mouth and it's on camera. Yeah, it's a real thing. And I just don't, I think she was just doing it to keep her quiet and she didn't realize it would get stuck and kill her. Or did she? But that ambiguity is part of, I think, the aesthetic of the film. I'm not interested in like completely answering those questions. I like the idea, because she is Satan in heels, and people say, "Oh, well, what's her home life like? What are her parents? Who is this person?" I'm like, she's evil. What more do you want? Like, she's Satan in heels, and that's another reason why this movie is a horror film. I think because there is no rhyme or reason for her malevolence. Like she's born bad, she's Christine,
Oh, I love that. I mean,
Yes.
I just, because rewatching it too, I was just like, wow. So I feel like there are so many films that came after it that I feel look to it as inspiration as well, just as I think Jawbreaker looked towards Heathers. But I was just like, there's just, oh my gosh, it's that slow walk and they're all looking stunning and all just the looks and the bitchiness and
Which I think you helped invent that, if that was your choice to like have them slow walk to a song. We saw it in like later on in Mean Girls, they did it. And I'm like, that came from Jawbreaker.
It did, yeah. And I was taking it from like the Westerns and the gangster movies. And I was like, the girls need the slow-mo walk, And so I was very, I mean, look, you look at that scene is very just three girls slow motion and it's like a runway, literally. It's like it's not mincing words. I mean, the only thing that's missing is a fan, right? That would have taken it. which I did I know, right? Which I did in GBF. So that I took that up a notch. So I took that up a notch for that movie. But you have to remember, I mean, Jawbreaker isn't just influenced by Heathers. It's also, I would say, the whole entire horror films in general. But the other main ones are Grease, Rock and Roll High School, and Carrie. Well, Carrie's a horror film. So Carrie, and then teen movies, right? So in general. And this could be cheesy like it could be something be cheesy, like Just One of the Guys, or like whatever. I was
that is a movie I probably should not have watched when I was so young, but I knew I was like, there's something about this that I just love this film, and to this day it is one of my 80s favorites. I love that.
So good. Yeah. And I think because I grew up in Encino around the OG Valley Girls, and the Sherman Oaks Galleria was my original stomping ground where they shot films like Valley Girl, Chopping Mall, Commando, T2.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I kind of had all that stuff in my DNA, but yeah. I mean, I'm just clarifying that Jawbreaker is yes, Heathers is for sure an influence. That movie was everything to me, and I still honor it. And I've always been very upfront about how she is the mother. She is the mother. We bow down. We get that. I completely understand my place. But that being said, I don't mind being the fucking the fugly middle sister between Heathers and Mean Girls. It's kind of cool.
I don't feel like that. No.
No,
we would not say ugly. No. I would say the one who might cut you up and kill you later.
Thank you.
I'm okay with that.
Well, how do you feel it being like this cult classic now?
No, I'm really happy. I'm really happy. I'm trying to lean into that and relax into that and be like, oh, I'm so like honored. It's like that gay thing of not being able to like, oh, I'm still feeling shame, whatever. Or I'm still like not secure enough to accept my flowers or whatever. I mean, just the other day, there's an article that came out of the blue on Friday out on IndieWire about how Jawbreaker would be a great double feature with Barbie. But
oh my God, it would be though.
Yes, actually, yes.
And they were calling it Barbreaker.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm looking this up, but that's actually I do want to see Barbie again, and that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say Jarby.
Jarby sounds a little like that. Sounds like maybe the fugly middle sister. Just the name.
Yeah, Jarby. Sorry.
I know, but I shouldn't. I mean, speaking of my film like that is not the way to speak of it. And I really thank you for correcting me. I'm saying she'll cut a bitch because she would. But I guess that just shows that I'm like part Courtney and part Fern. I do have, and I think as gay queer people, we have those polarities and identities that we are always juggling and struggling with.
Well, and I guess it begs the question too. We have Heathers the musical. We have Mean Girls the musical. Where is Jawbreaker the musical?
It's coming. It's coming.
Oh, we got an exclusive. This is an exclusive.
I turned in the first draft to Columbia before the strike happened.
Oh my God.
So
I am oh my God. Because we're paid.
No, because we developed Jawbreaker as a musical for the stage over the last, it's been in a development over the last 10 years. And the music's great. There's like 12 to 15 songs. They're excellent. There's a composer and lyricist named Jeff Thompson and Jordan Mann and on the East Coast. I mean, JoJo did a reading of it. We had it in New York, from GBF. Carol Kane actually did a reading of it once when we were like workshopping it in New York.
Girl, you are gagging us right now. Like we can't even breathe. Like, give us a moment.
Oh my God. That is just.
No, that's
sorry.
really awesome.
I'm actually starting to sweat because.
No, but you guys, it's not a green light though yet. I mean, I
know, but just like the prospect of it being like on paper or like just in the works.
Yeah, no, I want to manage expectations because I don't know. It's just been like my whole life. Part of my legacy is Jawbreaker, of course, is a very big part, and I always often feel that I'm the only one pushing it because Mean Girls is like a huge. Studio film with Tina Fey and it's commercial. Heathers is the classic, and so in between there's this Jawbreaker and Columbia, TriStar or Sony, the studio who made it. They don't create merch. They don't treat it like the craft. It doesn't get the love from the studio, right? But the cool thing is that the fans make the merch. The fans make the art. And that's why I always like repost it on my Instagram and I'll direct message people and be like, hey, I love what you made. Just send me one. And then I'll like wear it. Then I'll give it away or whatever,
I actually have, I'll have to show you it later, but one of my favorite drag queens from Chicago called Miss Toto did a series, See Toto Die. and they recreated the Jawbreaker several scenes, and so I have this huge like movie like poster, like quality everything, and it's just
nice.
Jawbreaker, and it's Miss Toto with like the lump in the throat. I just love it. I'll have to show you it later, but I love when people do that. But for me, I mean, like Jawbreaker was just, I mean, I think there's more to you than just Jawbreaker, but I do love that there's so much still this love and reception. And the reason I was just kind of gagged that you mentioned all that is just hearing also other people like doing reading, or just that mean the support, the love, and that's what's awesome. Because hey, I mean, I hope it gets made, but just I don't know. It still sounds like there are people out there like, I mean, I mean, but you know what I mean. Like it's
no, the head of this. The head of Columbia, we pitched it to him, and he heard the music and he heard the presentation. He's like, "Yeah, like, let's develop this." So it is like being developed as a movie, but of course the script has to go through several drafts, and you have to get the right cast attached, and then you get the green light. But I did have a Zoom with a certain actress, Chloe Bailey, about playing Courtney. Like we would want to get like 3 pop stars, like Chloe and Olivia Rodrigo, and like I don't know, someone else.
Could
like
you imagine? Oh my god,
like,
he would take over the world.
Like Jenny from Blackpink. Yeah, I mean,
just get that money. That's just like right there.
I'm ready for that. I'm so ready for that money. So we'll see. I mean, the good thing is when an article like the one in IndieWire comes out and it's like inviting Jawbreaker into the Barbie Oppenheimer cultural moment, we can then send that to the studio and say, oh look, this is what culture is still saying about the film.
Will the Donnas, I believe it's the Donnas, be contributing at all?
I mean, I always love to have a throwback. I still keep in touch. Yeah, I still keep in touch with the main Donna.
Yes.
So but there's a new band. Well, there's 2 new bands that I feel like are like the new Donnas that I would probably use in the prom. It would be between a band called Big Joni.
Okay.
Yeah, do you guys know Big Joni?
No, but I'm gonna look them up after this.
Yeah, definitely shout them out.
I love being introduced to new things, so I'm gonna look them up after this.
Yeah, they're a bunch of women of color from the UK, and they're giving you like Sleater Kinney 90s L7 vibes. It's very cool, and they're on Kill Rock Stars, and so they're called Big Joni. And then there's a band called, I'm sure you guys know, the Linda Lindas. They're a little more,
yes,
a little bit, and and they're kind of like a modern Donnas, and they'll be fun too. But yeah, I mean, I would have to put, Julie and Rebecca and Rose in there somewhere as parents or teachers. And, because as you look at it, the movie, I really was kind of like geeked out. I was like, I'm going to do all these cameos. So that's why there's like Jeff Conaway and PJ Souls and, et cetera.
When you mentioned Carrie before, I was just like, PJ Souls, William Cat, you just have them just casually come in at one scene. I'm like, all right.
I know, it's Pam Grier, right? It's weird because at least Jeff Conaway had something to do. I mean, PJ doesn't have much to do. I feel like PJ is more featured in the trailer than the movie. But for me as like a major fangirl, I was like, I got to geek out with her and talk about Carrie and Halloween and Rock and Roll High School, which for me is like really my PJ moment. But and then even William Cat, just having him around was kind of cool. But there's that scene when they find Liz's body and the camera kind of swoops in on them. Yeah. And that shot is longer in the trailer than it is in the movie, which is really maddening. And here's like you can have a peek into the process of making a film. The executive at the time at the studio was like, oh, well, it's too disturbing that the parents find the body, and we had to cut that shot shorter. And so I was, I don't have no directors really have final cut unless you're, Scorsese or Tarantino or something. Yeah.
Well, that actually interests me because I'm sure we want to move on from Jawbreaker, but I do want to just ask.
No, we can keep talking about it. There's a lot to unpack. I don't mind spending the entire time talking about this.
Yeah, don't mind us just speaking out.
I will answer all your questions. There's not enough. Don't worry. I would like to plunge into the horror of it with you.
Well, for me, I really do find Jawbreaker a perfect film because I just rewatch it on, and I really don't find stuff where I'm like, that doesn't work, or but for you as the creator, was there anything that you would have been like, I really wish we did this instead?
That's a good question. I mean, that movie, it evolved a lot in the development phase of writing the script. Like at one point there was like Liz's ghost that visited Fern and then visited the main clique and like brought them back together at a party at the end. Like she was walking on the pool. You know, it was very like Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, when Freddy sets
I love
the pool on fire.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I would. Oh my god!
I would have loved to see that. I would have loved to see a whole montage like that.
Yeah. There's like the scene where Fern's like, "Come to me, Julie," or whatever. She's like in the pool, and like Julie like walks in the pool, and the Fern drowns her.
Yes.
But the cool thing is the musical has a lot more horror elements to it because I was really able to lean into all that. So. You know, there's a moment where like Liz's corpse is in the hallway while they're in class. It's very Elm Street 1 when she's like, Nancy, you know, in the body bag.
Yes.
There's like there's a little of that. Yeah. And then
so good.
And Liz's ghost is much more of a character in the musical remake. So Liz is a presence throughout the thing. And the cool thing, because I do feel like in the movie, even though Liz, who's played by Charlotte Ayana, even though she doesn't have much to do, she leaves an impact because she's got a jawbreaker in her throat, you know.
Oh yeah.
And she's
that shot alone is iconic. You immediately think of that.
I'll never forget like working with the prosthetic designer guy who was a really cool makeup horror dude. And I was like, I want this to be I want this to be hardcore looking, like nasty, you know. And he was like, yeah, he's like, let's do it, you know. Like I wanted, you know, because the movie originally began with the kidnapping. There was no first you need to know about them, the flawless ones, that was written later, because what happened was the film began with this violent kidnapping and we had a test screening and audiences were like, I didn't like the beginning because I was scared and I couldn't get into it. I didn't know what to do. What, you know? And that was, I love a movie that mind you really fast in the beginning like that, right?
Yeah.
That's like, oh my god, it one that like throws you off your guard. You're it's unsettling, gets under your skin. That's what I live for.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so I had to write this new prologue that establishes Fern as our way into this world. And then I repurposed some footage of like the slow motion walk and blah, blah, blah. So you kind of see them and she picks up the books and all that stuff and move that to the front of the film. So the audience knew, oh, we're going to watch a high school teen comedy. And there's the, you know, the mean girls. And then there's this nerdy girl and I feel safe. And then we pull the rug out from under them with the kidnapping.
So good.
Well, and I almost think that makes it more approachable to a wider audience too, because personally, I mean, I'm a recent horror genre fan. I never really liked horror movies growing up, and then when we started dating, we started watching horror movies together. And Jawbreaker was one of those that we watched, I think, fairly early. Where
keep in mind, he hadn't seen Jawbreaker until 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
And now look at him; he's even more gear than you. He was a butch man. He was a butch man before.
I'm so glad we can provide you with your gay visa. You were only a half gay before. You were like, it's like when Dorothy goes to Oz, like she goes from black and white to color. You were like half and half. Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Nice sepia.
But I mean, I do think that it's interesting because having seen the types of movies now that are like just going at it right from the beginning, and something more like this where it like eases you into it and then it like hits you out of nowhere, I feel like it just makes it, I don't know, more something that even me before watching horror movies I would have been interested in, because I did love Mean Girls. I love GBF. I actually saw that first before Jawbreaker and truly fell in love with that movie. So I do at least appreciate that step.
Yeah, no, I think it was the right decision, you know, because there's people who might not have continued to watch the film after that first scene, because it is frankly is not obviously the tone of the rest of the film, but horror infuses the entire film. There's an infusion of that darkness throughout, and I think and the sound design is very, very dark. Like the sound design of the Vic when she's like transforming her into one of them, you hear like crows squawking and like it's very like it's a very sinister soundscape. And then the makeover scene is Fern being made over for the pop to be popular, and then Liz being made under for the grave. So you have or like formaldehyde and doll's hair and all that.
Damn.
Yeah. So I definitely wanted to lean into the darkness. And it's just, the movie, the sexuality is pretty dark too, in that like Courtney is like dominating her boyfriend for her own pleasure.
That seems hot.
Yeah, and that was designed to be intrinsically queer, because I was writing the scene that I wanted to see in a movie. Why did I have to grow up in a world where it was always Molly Ringwald or the girls getting laid and the guy? It was all heterosexual, couplings. So it felt really good to be like, ooh, this girl's gonna like make her boyfriend suck a big stick for her.
I love that. She's like, I told you, or what was it? Could do with a little kink, and she's like, shove it. I'm like, yes, good at that.
Oh my god, we knew exactly what you were doing, naughty. I was like, oh my god, I can only imagine the boners that I had growing up, because I saw this movie when I was like probably 12 or so, and I'm like, yeah, bad. But I loved it. I was like, oh my god, looking back.
No, it's not bad to watch this at 12. It's perfect. That's perfect. Because like for me, it was like Rocky Horror Picture Show. I saw that when I was 7 or 8. And that infuses this film too. That's a reference I didn't say that I should have said as well, because Courtney is very Frankenfurter. Yeah. And when she says, I made you and I can break you just as easily, that's literally right out of Rocky Horror. I mean, that's like, I was like, I'm going for it.
I think you just got a tattoo for.
I did. It's right there.
Featuring Tim Curry.
It says starring Tim Curry. Yeah.
I love it.
That.
Yeah. And he's back. Did you see on my wall back there?
It's
like
we were talking about it. We were talking about, we were like in love.
That's a Mondo poster. R.I.P. Mondo. Well, because Moshe Fique left, but he's going to start his own thing, which is great. And by the way, they have been in process of putting out a Jawbreaker vinyl. That's beautiful for the movie. Yeah.
You just want to like make us.
I know.
We just, we just need a little heads up. That's all. Because I will be throwing my money at that immediately.
It's so beautiful. It's like new art, and it's just incredible looking. And you open it up to the middle, and there's like these 3 panels of like rose, like in mascara dripping. It's really beautiful artwork.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, they just had deals getting the rights to songs and stuff. It's just been a process. Everything happens at its own time, you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You got to be spiritual about it.
Sending positive vibes to you. Oh my god.
So I do want to also then touch upon GBF, because I'm trying to think, that came out
2014.
Yeah, it's we just had our 10-year anniversary.
Yeah. So
now this is the year of our 10-year. It just screened in San Diego for Pride, and I'm going to Austin. I'm getting a legacy award at the Austin LGBTQ Festival, and they're screening. Oh my god. And they're screening Jawbreaker and Sparkler on 35, my first film in Jawbreaker, and then GBF is screening as well, which is not on 35 millimeter because we didn't shoot that on film.
Yeah. But congrats.
That's
amazing.
Thank you.
How does it also feel though to, I think as queer people, we always, we just want to be ourselves and be open and out. And so for you to be able to make such films that are just so inherently queer and also be well accepted, but also kind of maybe give a better understanding of who we are.
It feels great. Like Sparkler, hardly anyone saw it. It came out in 2 theaters, LA and New York. People discovered it on VHS on Blockbuster shelves. The cover has Jamie Kennedy and Freddie Prinze Jr. And just this year it became available for streaming, or last year through Strand Releasing. So now you can rent it or buy it. But I'll get a message like on Instagram where a woman's like, this is my comfort movie. I can't find it on, I know it's streaming now, but I want to own a copy. How do I get this? I need a DVD. And of course I have like 100 DVDs in a box that we never sold. And so I was like, DM me. So, I'm going to send her one, but I have to have like, but I need to have an official Blu-ray of Sparkler made. You guys need to watch Sparkler, by the way, if you haven't seen it.
I think we have to, for sure.
Yeah,
because that was a movie that I kept seeing the poster for, and I'm like, Jamie Kennedy, Freddie Prinze Jr. Oh my god! And it's like I read like the synopsis, and it's just like all over like queer movie, and I'm like, we need to see that. So definitely on our list.
And Sparkler has Grace Zabriskie from Twin Peaks and the Lynch movies, and it has Veronica Cartwright from Alien, which is Beastwick. So so there's definitely a lot of
Great
horror nods there. And Jamie had just done Scream before Sparkler, and Freddie had not done I Know You Did Last Summer yet. I think he had just done House of Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah. Anyway, what did you want to know about GBF? Oh, yeah.
It was just more,
yeah.
Again, getting to put that out there and just getting to tell that story. And also, I mean, you had some pretty big names in that helped push that along. And I
found that script through the Outfest Screenwriting Lab. I was a reader for them, or I would direct like segments for the festival. And they have this movie called GBF was one of the 5 finalists. And I was like, I read it and I was like, not expecting much, because it's hard to write a great script. I did not write GBF. George Northey wrote it. And I was like, this is great. And the reason why I liked it was because he was doing something new with the genre that we haven't seen before. Because I mean, listen, I love a teen movie. I love a genre movie, horror, fantasy, musical, whatever, anything. It's like cinema in general. But to make another teen movie, there has to be a reason why, right? And I was like, oh, the gay kid gets to join the clique. He gets to be part of that slow motion walk. And it's a commentary about, how in high school we all commodify each other, right? And it's about treating everybody as individuals. So it had a good message, you guys. I like Jawbreaker. But the hardcore Jawbreaker fans, they like GBF, but it's like not a Jawbreaker because that's like true cult. But GBF's really sweet. I mean, look at Jawbreaker has like a 19% of Rotten Tomatoes and GBF has an 85%. So it just goes to show like, what culture, what people, what's mainstream, I guess.
Well, GBF
I love
is definitely,
both, but
yeah, I love them both. GBF is definitely like on the wholesome side, but I just love that Jawbreaker is just very queer coded. Like you just know it's gay. You just don't worry about it. It's gay. But like GBF, it's just like unapologetically gay. Like it's just like we got boys kissing. We got things that like we relate to. We got talking about Grindr. I'm like, whoa, there's just so many things that like
it was ahead. Yeah,
it was ahead. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Yeah,
it was ahead. It was 10 years ago, and it had raunchy dialogue too. We got the film was given an R rating by the MPAA, and so I came out and talked about it in the press, and I was like, this is not even one F words, no nudity, but because of like all the like the rimming innuendos or like the gay sex innuendos. Fawcett, the Sasha Pieterse character, talks all. I mean, she just goes in. It's hilarious, but it's all coded slang. And why is it okay for heteros to have slang about sex but not gays? And that was the moment. But that was the moment in culture 10 years ago where they were too squeamish about it. But guess what? It played for 4 years on Netflix. So everyone who needed to find it found it.
Absolutely.
And they could watch it over and over again and stuff, which is cool.
One of our co-hosts, Zavid, he's a reactor as well, and he just saw that for the first time, and he fell head over heels for it, and he couldn't be here, but he just wanted me to let you know because I mean he knows Jawbreaker. I mean, it's Jawbreaker, but he saw GBF and he got his whole damn life. It was amazing.
It's such a sweet movie. It's such a great script. George wrote such an incredible script. That cast is so awesome, and it was a labor of love. We made it for nothing. We made that film for like nothing, and so everyone had to do it because we loved what we were doing. And I like all those locations were friends and family's houses. The music was. I mean, with the music, I was like, okay, I really want to spend money on music. So we got like Ellie Goulding and like Tegan and Sarah and Blur. It's even a Sharon Needles song in that movie. It's like I wanted to reference like all kinds of gay culture, but also like, I do like when a movie is timeless, and GBF is of a moment, but it's also fashion wise, it's very stylized, like Jawbreaker.
I also want to say, just like casting wise, having Megan Mullally as the accepting mother who just wants to like, I'm in with the gay things. Genius. Because I wanted Megan Mullally to be my mother.
Getting her was such a gift. It was such we were so lucky because all the guys in that movie are gay in real life. Paul Iacono, Michael J. Will, and Taylor Frey, who plays Topher, all gay. And we got Megan through Paul Iacono, who had known her from the Fame remake, and he asked her to do it, and she did
Okay.
it. God, she was so brilliant. She was so brilliant on set, like incredible.
Oh my god.
And then Natasha, I got Natasha Lyonne because I had produced All About Evil, the Peaches Christ movie, and we cast Natasha in that when nobody was casting Natasha at the time, and they weren't. She was like, you know, kind of
Now
back
look at her now. She's like killing
it, and I'm so proud of her. She's the loveliest, coolest, most genuine person you can imagine.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy for what she has now. But I think we, you know, gave her a stepping stone because she was the lead in All About Evil, you know, and we had talked to like we had wanted Fairuza Balk or like, I don't know, like, you know, we talked to Judy Greer, we talked to like Julie Benz, Busy Phillips, and then we ended up getting Natasha. And guess what? You can't imagine that film without Natasha. She is that character, you know.
She's so funny. And we actually did just watch All About Evil.
Yes.
And we're like, Natasha. Well, first we forgot like it was directed and written by Peaches Christ, and I was like, what? Oh my god, must see. So that was good. I was wondering like, oh, I wonder since we saw her at GBF and she's here, how that friendship came along.
Yeah, because she did All About Evil, and you know, and then I was making GBF, and I was like, would you play this role? And she's like, yeah, of course. And she's hilarious. And she's hilarious in GBF. Yeah. Right? Now I can't get her for my movies, but
so I think the best way to wrap up is talk about your producer on, well, something that combines two of the things I love the most, and that's horror and drag. And you were a producer on, well, you've also been a guest judge, Dragula Titans. How was that? Like, just being even more a part of that, and maybe even behind the scenes.
I have been. It's been such a blessing to be part of the Dragula family. Drac and Swan are very dear friends of mine, and we met many moons ago. I mean, not many moons, but like right before they were supposed to start season 1 of Dragula. Wow. They asked Peaches to introduce us. I met them for lunch. And they wanted to pick my brain about reality TV. I don't know that much about reality TV. I don't make it. You know, it's not my genre.
They are obsessed with it, which I do love. That like it's that little thing that brings them down to earth. I love hearing them talk about housewives.
They love housewives. They love housewives.
It's one of my favorite things to hear them talk about.
They're just the cool. I just adore them. They're just sweethearts. And you know, they're boyfriends. They've been boyfriends for a long time, and out of drag, they're just like dudes. They're just very cool, you know. And then so I talked to them about their show, and then I get a phone call or a text 2 hours after our lunch saying, "Would you be a guest judge in the first episode?" And I realized, oh, they kind of just wanted me. They wanted to see if I was cool, because you know the Boulets are because the Boulets are very about like family and cool people. They don't want to just put you on a show to put you on.
They'll fill you out a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. We had to feel each other out, and that first episode, I mean, I don't know if you saw season 1 of Dragula, but
yes,
I
have. It is definitely it's you know, hey, you got to start somewhere, and honestly,
it has charm. I love that.
Yeah, I love it.
They built a brand and a community, honestly, like because one of the great things, getting to see them perform, and I think this was before season 4, because I think Landon was there, but it's just amazing. And then you talk to people who live in the area, and they just so appreciative of what they bring to that community. And so I'm just like, they're actually really good people, because you know, you hear stories and you always wonder, but genuinely people love them, and I do love what they put out there, and all the monsters that they've created. Honestly,
they're so cool. Yeah. And I love our bond is that we're all Transylvanians, like we're all out of Rocky Horror, right? We're all like these freaks, and so I love the collision of horror and glamour, which I think is very much what Jawbreaker is as well. So to support and be part of Dragula was like, of course, because this is like the Rocky Horror of today. Like if I was a kid, I would be fully obsessed with Dragula.
Oh yeah.
But you know, I had Rocky Horror, which was awesome. I loved it. But Dragula is so cool too. So to be part of it's just been incredible. You know, as a matter of fact, these green nails you might be seeing them. They might be green for a reason.
Ooh,
love the insight tea.
I'm gonna make a mental note of that.
I was wondering because you know, how was it going from, the first season, but then like eventually going into the Shudder realm once it hit Shudder.
It's been great because it's really leaned into what it is, and the horror community. Because when it started, it was just really the queer community that was watching it. It was not the horror community.
Mm-hmm.
And the horror community, I think they were a little bit. Who's this Peaches Christ? Who are these Boulet brothers?
Yeah.
And now it's like you walk into Midsummer Scream, and the first thing you see is a huge Dragula booth. And
I saw that.
And they're doing a signing with like the line curling around, and then Peaches is having a drag show there, and she's got a huge conference room packed with people. So I feel like more than ever, the horror community is embracing people like them. I mean, they love horror. They definitely are hardcore about it. And the queens on the show, a lot of them love horror. And you look at people like Hoso or Vander Von Odd, who really do have horror in their blood, and special effect. I mean, the imagination on that show is pretty staggering.
When they do the prosthetics and it's just so incredible. Like I want to know what goes in their brain sometimes. But again, that's what I really love because yes, I love Drag Race, but and nothing against that, but Dragula, like when you get to do like the blood and the just the gnarly and nasty, I still to this day remember bitch putting that mop or that haircut. I was like, it's still, but I'm like that is hardcore, and that's what you see on Dragula, and I do, and honestly, everybody who's been contestants, we've talked to so many, are just nothing but incredible.
Everyone's so nice. It's such a nice, horror people are just cool, right? And the Dragula people are just sweet individuals and so talented. Like I remember when I was judging the Gothic Bride challenge in season 2, when I first saw and she was like the undead Jean Benet type beauty queen thing. Ooh. It was because is like a performer. Like she's I was just like, wow. And then Victoria, and I mean, all those queens are just incredible. I mean, I just love them. And I can't wait to go to Austin for this film festival because I get to see Eva Destruction and Louisiana Purchase.
Oh, I haven't. No, I take it back. I've met both. They have come to St. Louis, and they're both honestly. Louisiana is just so kind, and Eva she puts on a show. But I remember like Victoria Elizabeth Black. This was like I think after the first original or their first season. I remember at a club, we're like, "Oh, I'm excited! What's Victoria gonna do?" Brings out a full-on wooden cough, and I go, "That's production." What? And came out and did Bad Romance. I mean, obviously, we were all living for it, but I thought that is just so cool. And I agree that the horror community, I think, is really propping it up and championing it, and it's so nice to just see new voices as well, and I'm just happy you're a part of that, and I can't wait to see more what comes from
season 5. You're not ready, you will not be ready. But and the Boulets are just like upping their game every year. Like they're such visionaries. And they're so like driven, and they've created this whole world. Like I saw their show at the Ace in downtown, when they were last year for the Titans tour. And like, I'm buying merch. Like I don't have to buy merch, but I like it and I want it. You know what I mean? Like I could call and be like, send me a t-shirt and a bag, but I'm not that bitch. And by the way, But by the way, it all sells out too. So it
really does. If you're not there, you're not going to get it. So absolutely. I remember going, I was like, I'm going to take one of each shirt. Thanks. They don't F around with those. So
no, they come from art school. They have an art background, right? So like all their looks, their makeup, the conceptual aspects of every design element of the show comes very from a place of art, a true artistry. So they're incredible visionaries, and the cool thing is the queens, not the queens, the monsters on the show, respect them so much, and I just love that the respect goes back and forth, and it's just fun to be part of that world. I love it. It's like stepping into a haunted house, right? Because when I was a kid, I loved all that, right? So I just really love it. It's great.
So exciting.
I can't wait, but before Cody,
Oh,
did
and
you have
oh,
anything?
and I've gotten to play with my own gender expression and like my own presentation on that show. Like in the first episode, I'm just wearing a suit and glasses. I look just like da da da. It's like I'm standing between the Boulay brothers, and there's like a piece of fabric, glittery fabric behind us that says Dragula, and I'm like, holy shit! There's one camera on us. There's one camera on the stage. I'm like, this is gonna be rough, but I knew it, and I didn't care because it was like their vision that was coming
It
to
was
life.
so
right?
punk.
Yeah, it was so punk rock. I mean, very punk rock. And I mean, that first episode, they're getting buried alive. I mean, that was really punk rock.
Rough.
But yeah, and then season 2, I had like a leather cap, so I got a little more queer. But then season 3, when we were outside for like, it was the Dungeons and Dragons thing, I wore a full like black glittery coat and like this really cool like skull like band around my head. Season 4, I mean, arrived. Then I got this big like jacket with like, like shoulder pads, and had a drag queen friend do my makeup, and like it was like Ming the Merciless in hell kind of thing. So it's been fun.
I love it. I don't blame you, because if I was on that show, I would be in my own delusion of like, I could do that. I'm gonna go full on.
You can't sit next to the Boulets and not turn some kind of look.
Exactly.
I mean, because they're just sitting there like these like literal deities. They are. It's that good. It's just crazy. It's so like good. Their artistry is pretty staggering.
Well, before we go, because I know we went over, so I do appreciate your time. Cody.
Oh, I've really enjoyed this whole conversation, and like, and I don't feel like the need to rush with you guys. I mean, it's a Sunday. Let's just like chill.
Chill Sunday.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
Chill Queen Sunday.
Do you guys have any other questions? I've got a couple more, so. Yeah. But I don't want to monopolize.
Yeah. What's your social security card number?
No, I'm not falls for it when they call you and they're like, oh, so and so's in a car. You've been, in a car accident. They have these schemes and scams now, and somehow the next thing you know, you're getting out your social security card. What is happening in this world? Anyway, sorry.
See, no, but I'm with you on that, because anybody calls me, my anxiety, it's just like, hey, is this Sergio? And I'm like, who's asking? Who's like, can you let me know?
Yeah.
As for questions, I mean,
y'all are funny, because honestly, if I get a phone call, I'll know one of two ways, since I go by my middle name. If they address me by my first name, I'm like, am I in trouble? Or, so then I'm like, but yeah, no, I don't fall for that.
No, can't do it.
It was a vulnerable moment. Actually, it's anyway. I don't even know why I'm sharing that, but go on.
No, it's
love it.
What made you hop on to All About Evil? Like what?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah. I was on Friendster. Remember Friendster? I don't know if you're young enough. I don't know if you're young enough.
Wait, oh my god.
It was before MySpace,
right? Yeah. I'm that old too, so I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah. And I got a message from Peaches Christ, this drag queen from San Francisco, who's like, oh my God, I just heard you on This American Life. I love Jawbreaker. I made movies when I was a kid as well. I want to see your documentary. And then I looked her up on her website. I'm like, oh my God, this drag queen does like cult movie screenings and like has drag queens perform a spoof. Why do I not know her? And then I was gonna be up there for a screening of Put the Camera on Me, my documentary, which also has like a lot of horror in it too, because I was spoofing like a bunch of horror stuff as a kid.
Yeah. And
I met Joshua, and I was like meeting a long lost brother. I was like, oh my God, like we're queer, we love horror. You're a drag queen. I'm like, I was kind of jealous he got to be a drag queen, but I was like, whatever. I mean, Jawbreaker is like a drag movie essentially. So I saw his short films, and I was like, your short films are so brilliant. You're such a talented director and writer. You should make a feature. Because of course I think in those big terms, right? Because I had made 3 with a documentary at that time. And he's like, well, I wouldn't know where to begin. I mean, I don't have that kind of those contacts. And I'm like, listen, if you ever write a feature script, I will produce it. So I kind of like laid down that. Yeah, I just said that.
Whether it was bad or good.
Yeah. But I just felt so strongly about him. And I felt like he was such an extension of my aesthetic and from a world that I really adore. So our friendship blossomed as they do. And then 7 years later, So I'd be there for, I'd go to San Francisco, he'd come to LA, we'd always hang out. And then 7 years later, he wrote a horror movie that was To Become All That Evil. And the original working title was The Bloodshed. And it was based on his short film Grindhouse. And it became All About Evil. And it was great. The first draft was really, really strong. And I was like, thank God.
You won't feel bad about it now.
I was like, because if it wasn't, it would have been awkward. Because by then we had become really good friends.
Yeah.
But he wrote a really, really incredible script. And then I just helped him put it together, But I did that really because I wanted to be, I love him and his aesthetic. I love horror. I love drag. I love cult. And I was like, oh, let's try. I had only ever written and directed. I wanted to try producing, I don't love it because producing a film that you're not writing and directing, it's a lot of work and it's very punishing, and you don't really get to reap the benefits like the writer and director. But that being said, I mean, the movie, I'm so excited that it got to have this huge life with the Severin release on Blu-ray. And it kind of got buried for 10 years. but she has re-erected, honey, and now everyone's finding the film. It's on Shudder, it's on Blue, it's a beautiful blue.
Thank God.
And the film,
it's wild but good.
Yeah. And the film aged really well. I remember we had a screen, American Cinematheque in LA had a screening of it, when Severin released it, and I saw it on the big screen, and I was like, oh, yeah, this movie aged really, really well. Because, you make a movie and you're like, you watch it and sometimes you just think about, what you could have done differently, or your budget limitations, or you can really pick at it. And it was just really nice, a nice journey for that film, and to see that it's finally gotten embraced in such a major way. And that Natasha went on to become a big star, and like her moment in All About Evil was sort of the beginning of her resurrection, which was pretty cool, And I'm sure Joshua will make another movie. He's written several, and I'm really excited to see what he does next.
I mean, look, I love that. Not the same thing. Like Shudder and Fangoria are, I feel like they just really champion Peaches Christ. So cannot wait to see.
Yeah, no, it's really great. I love it.
I guess where with because there's a lot going on, sadly, in the entertainment world, and hopefully these studios wise up, because they're pissing me off. But I would like to know, though, like, where do you see yourself, or where do you hope to see yourself once all of that is hopefully resolved?
Well, I want to get the Jawbreaker movie musical remake made. The first draft's really strong. I'm really excited about it. I've got great producers, great studio, and it's important. As far as the queerness of the movie becomes extremely it becomes very poignant in the remake, because over the years I've gotten a lot of, of course queers love it, but trans people specifically really relate to the Fern to Violet transformation.
I could see that.
Yeah,
I really could.
So over the years I've gotten a lot of DMs on Instagram from trans people who are like, you don't understand, I saw myself in that. When I was Fern, I was invisible and I wasn't myself, and no one saw me. And then I became this glamorous woman. But I lived in fear of being dead named, and which is what Courtney does to her, And then at the end of the film, she becomes somewhere between Fern and Violet. She finds that happy medium of her gender identity. So, well, it's not about gender in Jawbreaker, but trans people read that into it. Yeah. So in the remake, Fern is now Vern. She's trans. The character is trans.
Oh, I love that.
And so
absolutely love that.
Yeah, and the actress, her name is Eve Lindley, as she was in the movie Bros, who she was one of the people, the trans people who had contacted me and told me what it meant to them. She's now a producer in the film and our trans consultant. So the whole thing has come like full circle in a really beautiful way. And to have that narrative now, Jawbreaker is really intense, because it's the stakes are so much higher, the human stakes of the movie. So So the cool thing is, and the music brings a level of emotion to it that's not in the movie. So the movie will always be this delicious, venomous thing, and then the musical movie remake will be something completely different, which I'm very excited about because, you know, it's just I wanted it to have a reason to exist and not just be because movies now, you know, cult deserves, you know, more content or what have you. So that's really exciting, just that whole piece of it.
But honestly, I've always pictured that movie to be a musical. I just felt like, especially like during the makeover scene where you just got them rhyming and just like looking at the screen, I was like, add music to this, and this is a musical number. I could see people dancing. I could see a nice little reveal. Like, that's
what when I was writing that movie and that sequence in particular, I was like, should this be a musical number? You know, that's kind of why it all rhymes and why it's so stylized, and that's where my head was at when I was creating that sequence in the movie. So yeah, the musical is super exciting. And by the way, you can search Jawbreaker the musical on YouTube and find concert footage from when we have done it in New York and LA and hear some of the music.
Oh, I'm gonna be doing that for real.
That's
your views will be increasing.
Yeah, it's pretty. People who are in the know and who have heard the music really like it, and it's not like musical theater-ish. It feels more like, you know, Gaga, Kylie, Adele kind of stuff meets, you know, the 90s vibe of like
my life.
Veruca Salt, you know, Veruca Salt, L7, you know, that kind of 90s like girl rock punk Donna's vibe. So it's got the rock, it's got the pop. It just feels like a really cool sort of fusion of all that.
Volcano Girls
yeah,
was my song. That was one song. I mean, hey, listen, I don't have LimeWire anymore, but I did illegally download that song. But
awesome.
That was on repeat.
Yeah, I mean, music's very important to me. My whole life, I've always loved music. So when I got to make Jawbreaker, I really wanted to fill it with just the coolest stuff. And not just, you know, I mean, obviously there's a lot of 90s, but there's also like Connie Francis and Scorpions and like, you know, the score is very haunting. The score, I feel like the score to Jawbreaker feels like a horror movie score too. You know?
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah. Steven Endelman is the composer. He did a really great job at that. There's like voices singing. It's kind of creepy. It's kind of fun.
I do want to ask you, what do you think happens to Courtney after the movie?
You know, she probably goes to a jail, you know, mental institution, something. They put her away. But I wasn't I wasn't interested in seeing that. I really like the hermetic quality of Jawbreaker, where you're sort of dropped in and you're sort of left with this. It all happens on the terms of like a high school hierarchy. It's not about life beyond that. And there's a subjectiveness to the film where it's really less about the adults, the moms and dads, and you know, it really does focus on the girls and sort of on their reputations and on their personal stakes. So I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I people are always very like, what happens? And I need the sequel. And are they in jail? And they all get out and they're all housewives now. You know, it's funny because, you know,
I could see it.
You know, and Fern is like now like the Miss Sherwood character. Yeah, but actually, but in the musical, I really want Judy Greer to play the Carol Kane character. Actually,
that would be amazing.
Yeah, but me and George, who wrote GBF, we developed Jawbreaker as a series for E when E was making scripted.
Oh my God! What we could have had.
I know. Dude, what the world could have had all the scripts of mine that never got made. I will tell you. But it was not the teen world. It was like this like group of 20-something influencers in LA. And like it opens up with them at a bachelorette party and they accidentally kill the male stripper with the Jawbreaker ball gag. Because they pressure the bride to have sex with him.
Oh my God.
He's in her. And the gag,
damn,
yeah, and the gag is on, and he dies while she's inside him, and the Jawbreaker lump is in the throat, and there's a line of dialogue which I think is what helped sell the show, which was, "How long was I riding that dead dick?"
Oh, I love that. Oh my god.
Immediately sign it.
I mean,
10
why did we
episodes,
not
full
have
season.
it?
I know, because that's how we can have nice things, you know. It's like,
Oh my god, this is gonna make me
there's
tear. That's really
but
good.
it was a really fun series. It's like, so they have to get the body out, and they go through with the wedding, and then it's basically the story of Jawbreaker, and then they have to make over the stripper that they killed's like meth fueled girlfriend from the trailer parks because she finds out the three like killed her boyfriend, and her name's Alex. Her name's Lexis. Wait, Alexis. Wait. Oh no, her original name's Rhonda, and she's like, you're more of an Alexa. No. She goes, Rhonda sounds like Honda. You're more of Alexa. She goes, you're more of Alexis. We're calling you Alexis. You know, so it has that same kind of Jawbreaker.
Oh my god,
kind
I
of-
love it.
Right. It was really fun.
Now I need you to write like some sort of anthology series where you just put Jawbreakers into any sexual nightmare
Yeah.
imaginable.
It's fun. It's fun to see just the way it's influenced cultures in the small ways. There's actual Jawbreaker ball gags now. Like they are a thing, you know. I can't say that I can't say it's because of Jawbreaker that happened, but maybe.
Could be.
Yeah.
We may or may not purchase one. We don't know. I don't know.
You know, Violet Chachki from Drag Race used to sell those as her merch. She had like
Remember?
she had Jawbreaker ball gags, and her name's Violet. I'm just saying it's not. Yeah,
She had good merch. I remember when she
Glorious.
toured.
Mhm.
But
I liked
I,
her.
Oh my God.
I liked her merch too. I did it. It was like all bondagey and stuff. It was cool. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you. This has been honestly an amazing conversation. Again, your work really it means the world to me as well. And I'm just happy to have somebody like you in the space because it's more of what we need. So again, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It means so much to, get to hear how much the films have affected you and getting that back and being able to discuss them. It's just super fun for me as well. So I really enjoyed being here.
Thank you so much for having us, by the way, Yutaka. But
Oh no, thank you for joining.
it was honestly an honor to speak with you, and I hope you know that I'm sure you already know that Jawbreaker, it is what it is and has delivered to you, but has delivered to us
Thank you.
much. So.
Thank you so much. I'm very touched.
And to just our listeners and viewers, comment down below what you all remember about when you watched Jawbreaker for the first time. You don't even have to leave that G-rated either. You can just let us know. I'm curious. But hey, just hit that like button, subscribe, and until next time, just want to say thank you to everybody and goodbye.
Bye, y'all.